Welcome back to another video from the Debate Room podcast. This is our NBA mock draft after the NBA draft combine. It was a very eventful combine. We saw a lot of players rise their stocks up, like Cedric Coward, I believe, did, Tahad Pettiford, amongst others. And other people's didn't have good showings, but we're back for another mock draft. I think we did one last week that did pretty well. But today we're joined by Sheldon from Utility Sports. I'm pretty sure if you're watching this video, you're familiar with his content um, for the NBA and the NBA draft. So, want to give a big shout out to you for coming on. A lot of people with like big platforms are pretty, stingy about just responding to people and stuff like that. So, shout out to you. Do you want to shout out anything?
I just want to shout you guys out. Appreciate you having me on, and I'm always down to talk some hoops and everything. So appreciate you guys a ton.
And we got Q, who's been with me on NBA draft coverage all year. Jaden is back from his hiatus, finishing school. And Max, we just did another mock draft last week, so he's back. Sheldon is a Mavericks fan, so we're going to give him the first overall pick. I know you got to be really, really happy with where you guys at, especially like 7 months ago. Luka gets not 7 months ago, a few months ago. Luka gets traded to the Lakers. It was like one of the worst years in franchise history. And then now you got Cooper Flag. I think you guys kind of made out the trade at this point pretty good because you got AD, Cooper Flag, a first-round pick, and Max Christie. So pretty good deal for you guys in hindsight, I guess. Before you make the pick.
What a whirlwind of emotions here, huh? You just have a crazy turn of events. Luka gets traded. Daniel Gafford hurt. Kyrie Irving hurt. All of a sudden, you go from being a surefire playoff team, a team that just made the finals, to now having the first pick in the draft. Unexplainably, it's pretty crazy. But as you could predict, obviously the Mavericks here will select Cooper Flag, the new face of the franchise, with Luka Doncic playing in Los Angeles. Very happy to have Cooper Flag. Just a two-way star, honestly. Somewhat in the shades of Jason Tatum. Of course, there have been some comps to Kawhi Leonard as well, but I think all things considered here for Cooper Flag, with the defense wins championships mantra over there in Dallas, they're going to be quite happy with what he gives them on both ends of the floor moving forward.
And Nico, he's a genius, man. Divas does win championships. He is right. People doubted him, but I mean, hey, I don't know. He's feeling really excited because you got to think about like, damn, he had to feel so relieved after the death threats he was getting, all the fan hate he was getting, the pressure from the media. A lot of that should be alleviated now with Cooper Flag coming into town, and their future looking a lot brighter than it was. I would definitely rather have Cooper Flag, AD, and Max Christie than Luka because Cooper Flag is on a rookie scale extension. So you don't got to give him a super max. I know Luka's all world, top 3 player in the world, franchise great, but I think in about 3 years, the Mavericks fans will be fine. Honestly, they'll be fine. But Sheldon, just so you know, when we do picks, we do with the first overall pick. We say like,
okay, got you. My fault.
Yeah, I gotta tell everybody.
Latif loves his TikToks. Latif needs everything to be TikTokified just so it's easy to clip.
Yeah, I can't blame him.
We're gonna do Spurs. I think what that's Jaden's pick.
Yeah,
go ahead, Jay.
Oh, did he? I didn't know if he did already. With the second pick, the San Antonio Spurs, like Dylan Harper, just second best player in the draft. Kind of gives me like Cade Cunningham vibes. Just a big guard, gets a rim, score. So I got Dylan Harper at 2.
Much has been made about this fit. I don't know if they keep Dylan Harper, considering some of the options they can do as far as trades. But I also agree that Dylan Harper is the second best player in the class. A few people have soured on him because his lack of pull-up shooting in the mid-range and from 3. But I think Dylan is a good athlete. He can get to the rim whenever he wants to. He's a pretty good passer and playmaker. He can grow in that regard too. And when he is locked in defensively, he can be serviceable on that end as well. But from what he's put on tape over the last couple of years and at Rutgers, I think he definitely is the second best player in the class. Some people will doubt him, but I'm very firm on he can be a all-star level guard, maybe a little bit below that. I think he'll work best in a secondary role. Probably not a primary like creator because of his lack of jump shooting. But if that can improve, he definitely can do that. I think he'll be a fine shooter. I'm not expecting anything more than that. Probably about 35%.
I do think here with Dylan Harper, one of the things that has been quite undersold with him too, specifically is his ability to handle the rock. If you look at his statistical profile compared to Cooper Flagg, he shot 7% better on twos this year than Flagg, despite being a smaller prospect than Flagg. And obviously Flagg, there's so much potential with Cooper in a variety of different roles. But Harper, you look at his ability to split in the pick and roll, reject ball screens, get downhill, finish at the rim. And then, obviously those questions with the pull-up shooting, I understand some of the concerns about the actual results, but I think the process is there specifically for him in terms of the decision-making, when to take pull-up jump shots, when to turn them down to get all the way to the rack. So for San Antonio, I understand the questions about fit because they do already have members in that backcourt. But I do think for San Antonio, pairing him with Wembanyama, you're just getting more talent and more decision-making, which will help Wemby, which will help Vassell if they do keep him long-term, and will be a nice ancillary piece off of the Fox Wemby two-man game to begin with.
A quick question for, I guess, everybody here. Is anyone up in the air about if a trade ends up happening, the idea of trading this number 2 overall pick or a Stephon Castle? Is anyone thinking to keep Castle over Dylan Harper or the number 2 overall pick?
No.
Just making sure. People are talking about the rookie of the year.
Yeah, I think Harper's handle is probably the best in the class. Maybe Jeremiah Fears is better. Maybe I think Jace Richardson is up there as well. But I think Harper has an argument for the second best handle in the class. But yeah, I understand that as far as the process with his shooting, I think he just needs to change his form. Is like the problem I have with it. Like the shot is just releases is very low. The release point is very low, and it hurts him in the mid range because not only is the release very low, but in the mid range he doesn't get enough elevation. So the looks can look very they look very bad. It's a lot of bad misses in the mid range for him, and from three. I think another thing that's been under discussed, and I think you saw me talk about this on the timeline. I know Q did for sure. Is his off ball game, and that's why I think he can be a secondary creator because he's shown the ability to cut off the ball, relocate off the ball, and come off pin downs. So not only is he a pretty good on the ball player. And he's going to provide some on-ball juice, but he can, I think, fit around different types of guards because of how well he can play off the ball. Can you guys anything to say about Dylan Harper before we move on?
No, I think I covered it. Like,
True.
There's no way I'm keeping Castle over him. There's no way I'm picking another player over him right here. I think no matter what direction you go, I think Harper's the second best player in this class.
So I think I have 3, right?
Yeah.
I think the draft starts at 3. I'm not gonna lie. I do think the draft starts at 3. I think I've talked about this at length on my Twitter, but I think the Sixers have a couple options here. They can trade down for sure. They can trade down and get a queen or just draft queen and fit them next to Embiid. They can draft Ace Bailey if they like Ace Bailey. They can draft VJ Edgecombe. I wouldn't be mad if they drafted Connor Knuppel. I wouldn't be mad if they drafted Trey Johnson either. They have a bevy of different options at this spot. But with the 3rd overall pick, the Sixers are going to select VJ Edgecombe. I think this team is in desperate need of athleticism. They're in desperate need of connectivity as far as passing. I definitely am a lot lower on VJ's defense than I was at first. It's definitely not just like it's not like there. Like his point of attack defense was pretty subpar this year. Not the best at getting like through screens. I think his numbers as far as like his steal percentage and his block percentages were really good because he's really good as in passing lanes. Although he does gamble too much, he's a really good guard rim protector as far as like getting blocks and stuff like that. And he's really aggressive and his motor is really good as well. Really good offensive rebounder, obviously. But early on, I think VJ is going to come in and defend. He's going to come in and hit spot up threes. He's going to be able to quickly, I think, make reads in a half court. And obviously, he's going to be a really good piece in transition. My drawbacks for him is the half court play can get really shaky, especially if his 3-point shot is not falling down, because his finishing around the rim is a lot worse than what you would think for a player of his athleticism. So I think it'll help if he put on weight. I think it'll help if he learns how to decel a bit more than what he is doing right now. He still kind of feels like a safe prospect, but he still has some of those red flags, and that's what's scary with this draft to me. I think outside of the top two, you can poke holes in a lot of prospects as far as like this can go very bad for them. But I think VJ is probably the most NBA ready prospect that also gives you good defense at this spot. Like I think Khan is very NBA ready, but he gonna have his drawbacks on defense. Ace, I think, can contribute early on, but he has his struggles, which we'll talk about whenever we get to him. But yeah, that's what I'm doing at 3. Sorry for the long-winded explanation. What's you guys' thoughts on that?
I think a lot of what comes with like players like him is that since he's a uber athlete, he tends to use his athleticism more than like being like technically sound. So like he gets caught in like certain situations. But I mean, he's still a very good prospect. Depending on where he goes, I think he's going to make an immediate impact anywhere.
What do you think, Max, Sheldon?
I've gone with Ace Bailey here consistently in the past. I think I get what you're saying with the more two-way ability. I think I got Ace Bailey stuck in my head as a Michael Porter Jr. kind of guy. And I think with that team, the lack of secondary and third scoring when Joel Embiid or Paul George or Tyrese Maxey would be out was very, very needed. I get the inefficiencies. I think that playing with other players will kind of help that and kind of make him take smarter shots at times. I think his shot diet could get shortened a little bit. I've definitely fallen more on the positive sides with Ace Bailey, but I understand the negatives for sure. That's where I just see the offensive game compared to VJ Edgecombe. But
I think specifically for Philly, if they do go with Edgecombe at 3, I think the most fascinating thing will be for a team that is relatively small across the board, and then also looking at their matchups with some of the better Eastern Conference teams. You look at the size and length that New York has. You look at obviously when Boston is healthy, which is now not a reality for them going into next year, but going into future seasons, a backcourt of McCain, Maxey, and Edgecombe, I think is more concerning to me than even what San Antonio possesses with if they do, in theory, keep Castle and Harper both with Fox. I think Castle can guard up and down the lineup a lot better than Edgecombe can at this present time, obviously. I do believe in the long-term defensive potential that Edgecombe possesses, but I do think the slight frames of both Maxey and McCain will be interesting problems for them against some of the Eastern Conference teams if they do go Edgecombe at 3. So
I'm not really so like I still want to see more from McCain. I'm pretty fine with him coming off the bench down the line. He can definitely be a starter level player, but I think a lot of people have jumped on the McCain train because he had a great 15 games to the season. There's still a lot to see with McCain. For all we know, I think he can still be like a really good player off the bench or something like that. And I'm fine with having that 3-guard lineup, but just having Edgecombe at the 2 and Maxey at the 1. It's not a greatest playmaking from a playmaking standpoint at all. But I think especially if Edgecombe can improve his handle, which I didn't talk about with his weaknesses. His handles needs to improve. He needs to improve as a pull-up jump shooter because he didn't really show that. I think if he hits his 80th percentile outcome, he's like a Victor Oladipo type of player, and that's who I've comped him to at his if he hits his outcome. I think he's a good balance of a player that has a relatively high floor and can get to some higher percentile outcomes because of his athleticism. So we can move on though. We don't got to spend 10 minutes on VJ Edgecombe. At 4, it is Max.
Q's got 4.
Oh, my bad.
With the 4th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Kaman Malawach.
Okay, good. I'll take Ace.
Nah, hell no. Well, once you pulled the trigger on not picking him, then I'm like, it made it easier for me. I was gonna make this pick anyway. I wasn't even gonna go VJ, but since you took VJ on the board, it made my pick even easier. They should be getting rid of Mark Williams. At least they tried. Need a big, can play drop, show some shooting touch, could be a lob threat. Obviously, he's still very raw. Just started playing basketball, but Charlotte Hornets, they're not in a position to be winning right now, so that gives you the runway to at least give him time to develop and into a real big. I think he's still one of the better prospects in his class, and I think it's a seamless fit.
I like the pick. I think I made this pick a few times because I think Mark Williams, their situation is just weird right now. They try to trade him in the season. They could be looking for a big. I think Kamal Maluach is a player that has. I want to say that he has a safe floor, but again, these prospects they have weaknesses. I think Kamal is going to be a rim rolling big that can protect the rim and drop. He's massive, so I think that kind of like his defensive potential is really great. Like he can be an all NBA level defender if everything comes together. The touch around the rim is really nice. The touch from the free throw line is really nice. His priors from before Duke suggest that he could potentially develop as a shooter, which I think he can. He has really nice touch, like I just said. And when he played in the African League overseas, he shot more threes and he shot more mid ranges. And in the Olympics, he shot some shots. I don't think Duke used him in a way that was like conducive to show how well he can play. Didn't give him any post touches. Didn't really allow him to shoot. He was just basically setting screens, protecting the rim, which is what he can do at his floor. But I think because he just started playing basketball and because he showed touch around the rim and touching the free throw line, he can become like a running big that can also stretch out and knock down some threes and pick and pop. And this team has needed some rim protection for a while now. So I like the pick. What you think, Sheldon?
Q, I absolutely love this pick on the offensive side of the floor for Charlotte. I think not enough discussion has gone into what kind of player Maluach can be offensively as a screen set role guy. And if you think about LaMelo Ball, he should be smiling ear to ear right now because he's going from having Taj Gibson as his long roll partner there in Charlotte to now having a 7'2" player with a huge catch radius, somewhat reminiscent of Larry Fitzgerald now playing in Charlotte here. On the offensive glass, he's going to be able to get active. He's going to clean up second chance opportunities for them. Very good touch below the rim, like Latif talked about. I think all things considered here for Charlotte offensively, this is great. Now, the concern for me with keeping Maluach in North Carolina is specifically on the defensive end of the floor. I think this needs to be step one for Charlotte. Getting a rim protector like Maluach, whether they keep Mark Williams or not, is a good starting place. But they need more good point of attack defenders. One of the greatest strengths for Duke this past year that contributed to Maluach's plus 53.0 net rating was their collection of defenders around him to maximize his rim protection and shot blocking, where there's always a guy riding the hip of the ball handler or cutting him off and limiting the depth of the drives. And I think specifically Charlotte right now is really absent of those kinds of defenders. So I think the Hornets still need to go out, try and find other ways to drastically improve this defense around Maluach, but offense, this is a home run pick for Miller, for LaMelo Ball, and for Charles Lee there in Charlotte.
What you think, Max?
I think the more you've mocked this, I think the past 2 or 3 times we've done it. I think the more I see it, the more I like it, especially in the LaMelo Ball kind of thought process. Having him in the pick and roll, finally giving him some sort of threat. Like I think you look at the people on the board, getting a Trey Johnson, getting an Ace Bailey. How different is that to what you have in Brandon Miller currently as like another scoring option? I think Maluach is the only person who kind of gives you a little more versatility, who gives you a little bit of a different look than the other guys on the board who just provide offensive help. I think having Maluach as finally a rim protector, finally a rim runner, and if he can't actually shoot the basketball, that just unlocks LaMelo Ball's game that much more.
Jay, what you think of this pick? Come on, Maluach at 4.
I'll go out, bro. I don't know much about him, but the whole like Mark Williams thing, if you're trying to replace him, I think that's a perfect fit, especially if he's a rim protector.
So who's at 5 is going to be
me.
Okay.
With the 5th overall pick. Yeah, I already picked him. With the 5th overall pick, the Utah Jazz will go with Trey Johnson out of Texas. With Trey Johnson, I think you're looking at Utah's got nobody. Utah has nothing.
This is confusing because you would have picked Ace at 3, so and then they're just not taking Trey at 5.
I know and again, it's just because the amount of shots and the efficiency. Trey Johnson was significantly more efficient this year than Ace Bailey. So in a role where you're going to be shot chucking with no one else on that team, I'm going to go with Trey Johnson in that 6'6" shooting guard role. Again, they have no guards. You drafted way too many front court players over the last couple of years, I think, to justify going with Ace Bailey right now. Regardless if they're going to be traded or not, you have like the Taylor Hendricks of the world, the Cody, like all these guys that they try to stuff the front court with who aren't really doing much. But you have Laurie and you also have Walker Kessler, who for right now are the best-ish player in your team because Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson, I think, will both be on the market. I think Trey Johnson, as far as what he did at Texas, his play creation, being the number one as a freshman on this team, I think having no set point guard, he'll be fine to still play create for himself and also get shots off efficiently. It is funny, I know, not going with Ace Bailey here after I would have gone with him at 3, but they have a lot more playmakers to where I think that Ace Bailey can almost be a pick and pop kind of guy. Again, like a Michael Porter Jr. I think Trey Johnson possesses a lot more of a creative game on a team like Utah where they just need any sort of creation possible. So I don't love the point guards on the board. I know I go with Kasparis on a decent amount of mocks, but I'll go with Trey here at 5.
I have Trey over Ace on my board. So I wouldn't coming in from that perspective. As far as the pick, I don't hate the pick at all. Maybe would have looked at Khan. For me, Trey Johnson.
My only thing with going with Khan here, trust me, it crossed my mind, but like I think you go for a little more home run upside. Like you're just going with a safe pick, which isn't necessarily bad. Especially if you're thinking that you're in the Peterson, Boozer, and Debanza conversation next year. But like, I don't know. I don't think going Trey is bad, especially with what's laid on the board.
What I wanted to respond to really, and I forgot about it, was you said they have too much like forward depth. I think if you love Ace, you just love Ace and you take him. This team doesn't have enough I think great prospects on it to like you think Ace is a great prospect. You love Ace, just take him. Like I don't think, especially this high in the draft, you should be drafting necessarily for a fit, especially when you're the Utah Jazz and you're gonna be bad next year anyways. But as far as Trey Johnson, I think he was miscasted in his role this year at Texas. For one, they didn't have a point guard, but two, I think he's a more of an off-ball player. He's really good coming off screens and pin downs and any type of screen, any type of off-ball action. He's really good at doing it. Baseline, out of bounds plays. He's one of the persons at the combine that not tested really well, but like it went well for him because he's like 6'5", 6'6", had a 6'10" wingspan. He was more efficient than Ace this year. I think he does have some shot selection issues. The main thing with Trey Johnson, I posted about it on Twitter, is that I think his passing is much better than advertised. With how he's talked about in like the consistency, much better passer. So I think in the NBA he's going to be a really good off-ball player. That if the handle continues to grow, if he can get to the rim better, can be a really good on-ball option as well, and also be like a secondary or a tertiary playmaker in the offense. So I think that's a really valuable guy. So it's really going to matter about how good his defense is because I think, like, not to be harsh, his defense is legitimately terrible right now. It's awful. Q, I know you're a big Trey Johnson guy. What are we thinking at 5?
I was surprised that he went Trey, obviously, over Ace. You're right. Utah Jazz, the level of talent that they have, if you love some guy, you should take him no matter what. Like, they got a bunch of guards that they drafted in the past couple of years, but if Dylan Harper's on the board, you take Dylan Harper. Trey's a bucket, a bona fide. He's not Devin Booker, but he's of that variant, like that Devin Vassell, which I think could be better than Devin Vassell, honestly. But I mean, it's cool, especially on this team. Will Hardy, he'll get some good development, able to get to his shot. I don't always love his type of shots, but I love his shots way more than I like Ace Bailey's shots. So you're right. If you are going to be chucking a lot of shots, I'd rather you be efficient at doing something. Trey Johnson is more efficient than Ace Bailey.
Sheldon? Oh, very good. What you think about the pick, Sheldon?
I think for Trey Johnson, for Utah specifically, I do think there's a number of ways they could go, but I do like this fit for them specifically as another play finisher archetype. I think, the earlier mention about being players in next year's draft as well with a very stacked class coming in 26, this Jazz team still very pointedly is missing that initiator of offense that is going to be a high-level on-ball player. I'm not a big believer in Isaiah Collier. I'm not a big believer in Keontae George. And I think getting the infrastructural pieces, if they do hold on to Lauri Markkanen, keep Walker Kessler and continue building around this core that they already have on roster, Trey Johnson can be another very good addition. And it takes one right decision, whether that be a big trade using some of their draft capital or one right draft pick where if they get lucky in next year's lottery and move up, maybe they get a Darren Peterson to put around this infrastructure of players who can be play finishers around that. Trey Johnson, to me, is very eerily similar from a physical archetype to Tyler Hero. And I think specifically with his skill set can kind of emulate that as well in today's game.
We are at 7. Jaden, Your New Orleans Pelicans.
We're not at 7, bro.
This is Sheldon.
Oh,
This is
pardon
Sheldon
me.
at 6.
We're at 6. My bad.
How come you didn't ask me about Trey, bro?
What you think about Trey?
I mean, I kind of wanted him to fall to 7, but
Okay.
I mean, it's cool. I got somebody else in mind. That's really all I wanted to say.
Caspers. Yeah, you got Caspers. I know you love Caspers, bro.
We're gonna have a certain guy follow then a little bit further, I think.
Yeah.
It's just
now I know we're gonna get a lot of casual comments, a lot of anybody gets a podcast mic comments because Ace.
this has got to go down to TikTok. This will get some good TikTok interactions for sure.
Yeah, because now Ace is falling farther than people think he should. So Washington Wizards at 6. Whose pick is this?
This is mine. So are we doing what we think will happen or what or what we would do?
What we would do.
Always go with you think.
All right, Ace is falling some more then. With the 6th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Washington Wizards select Derek Queen out of Maryland, keeping him in the DMV area. And I think specifically for Washington, this gives them a very prime initiator of offense out of the top of the key, out of delay action. They already have a very intriguing pick and pop delay action trail big man in Alex Sarr. Now they get another one with a varied skill set, someone who can handle the basketball. I think one of the most coordinated players in this entire draft that shows up in his ambidexterity as a passer, using his left hand on skip passes, cross-court dimes out of the post. And I also think specifically for his touch and his ability to gather the basketball, one of the biggest causes for his high turnover rate at Maryland was being called on travels on spin moves. I don't really think that's going to be a problem in the NBA with the slightly looser officiating and freedom of movement. I think he's going to be an advantage generator. I think he's going to get to the free throw line a ton. And I think there's eerie shades of Joel Embiid, Kevin Love, Alperen Şengün here in Derek Queen going to Washington and being one of the best offensive players on this Wizards team immediately.
Queen is somebody like right now. I have him at 9 on my big board. My question is the offense going to be good enough to warrant the level of like defense, like warrant the amount of like investment you have to put into building a good defensive team around him? Now he did show signs of like solid perimeter defense over the course of the year, but he obviously is not going to anchor a defense. He's not going to really protect the rim. He does have good hands, which I would say. But I'm questioning, is the offense going to be good enough? Now, this is a situation where I feel like he fits nicely next to Sarr. They can kind of like cover each other's weaknesses. And that's why I've consistently mocked him at 6 to the Wizards. And you get the story of like, yeah, he's the hometown kid, DMV. That's a great story. Sarr is a big man who protects the rim. He theoretically can shoot the ball. Sarr is also a solid passer as well. But Derek Queen is going to come in the spot at the 4. I think he plays the 4. He can get to the rim, create advantages, dribble from the perimeter, post up, play make out the post, and all that type of stuff. I need to know if the defense is going to improve. I need to know if the shooting is going to improve, because I feel like you have to invest a lot into building a competent defense around him. Thankfully, they already have Bilal and Sarr, but I think he gives me like shades of like the Alperen Şengün type of thing, where I was questioning before this year. Is Şengün going to be good enough offensively to warrant the resources you got to spend defensively to have him as like a good team defense? Obviously, Şengün improved a lot defensively this year, so he answered that question for me. I just don't know if Queen is going to be like good enough offensively. He does have really good footwork. He can dribble the ball from the perimeter. He's a very skilled player, but I just don't know. I still have questions, but everybody has questions.
I think my biggest selling point on Queen, just to defend the pick even a little bit further here, if you're trying to guard him, if you're questioning his offense, I want to know what kind of player you're putting on him in a matchup. Because if you're putting a traditional 5 on him, I think he's going to have the foot speed advantage and the ability to beat him with counter moves. And I think if you're putting a smaller guy on him, that's where the functionality with the post-up play, the short roll game, if you're trying to switch against him, you're going to have advantages on slips. I think there's just a lot of different ways a coach can use him, which is what makes me so optimistic. I do understand the questions because right now the three-point shot hasn't really developed to a point where it's super reliable and consistent early in his career. This is, again, a long-term projection pick on further development, but I think there's a lot of sneaky advantages you can use him in the half court depending on his matchup night in, night out.
I think as I watch these playoffs, as I do every year, I'm more involved in the draft these last 2 seasons, but when I watch him, I'm like, can this guy survive in the playoffs? And I think if Derek Queen is going to be he needs to be a better defender to survive in the playoffs, and he also probably needs to be a better shooter to survive in the playoffs. Because I think players of his archetype, maybe this is lazy, but players of his archetype like Sengun, he obviously played well relatively in his playoffs. The efficiency wasn't the best. He was getting guarded by Draymond Green though. But players like Sabonis and Sabonis basically have struggled in the playoffs because they are like non-shooting, non-defending bigs. So we'll see. I've done the same pick. I'm not criticizing your pick. I'm just like going over like the questions with this prospect. Max, what do you think?
I think the defensive aspect you're talking about, I almost think it was effort. I feel like I watched Maryland this year. I sometimes feel like the effort wasn't always there on the defensive side. Like he might have the potential. It's just like sometimes it looked like Derek Queen wasn't even trying. And I feel like that sometimes his game, it just looks so simple and smooth that it almost comes off as like slow. But I like Derek Queen a lot as a prospect, especially sliding him in at a 4. Like putting him next to Alex Sarr in the 4 position, I think is the dream spot to have Derek Queen. Obviously, you have a lot of 7-footers. And if you are concerned about the defensive aspect, like he can't be a perimeter or a premier rim protector. So I think with his offensive game, you just have how tall is Alex Sarr? 7'1", 7'2", and you have Derek Queen at 6'10". So I think with the offensive game, I agree with Sheldon. He poses really, really, really interesting matchup questions for the opposing coach. And again, I think with Washington as a whole, you're just putting a bunch of pieces together currently. Like you got a couple two-way pieces. I like Bub last year. Like you have Sarr. They have a lot of interesting players kind of going forward. And I think Queen kind of poses another matchup. Like they have a bunch of guys who are just questionable for matchups. Like I think when you're the other coach, it's kind of like you have a big guard, you have a offensive scoring big, you have 7-foot Alex Sarr, you have the lengthy Bilal Coulibaly. Like if these guys kind of pan out, I think you're just you have a ton of nightmares on the defensive side as far as matchups. So I think Derek Queen just kind of adds to that.
If those guys pan out and then they get like a high pick in 2026 and get a star like a DP or a Cam, probably not Cam Boozer. Well, I mean, if he's there, you take him obviously. But if they can get DP or AJ, this team can have one of the brightest futures like going forward in NBA.
You're getting a lot of complimentary pieces, or what looks like it for sure.
Yeah, not that high on Bub or like Keyshawn Jordan.
I like Bub this year.
I don't know. Jaden, you're on the clock. It's New Orleans Pelicans. You got a few prospects on the board. Who do you want to select at 7?
With the 7th pick, I got the Pelicans taking Caspers. Yeah, we need a guard, like bad playmaking. I just like when Zion has a playmaker next to him. So yeah, I would love Caspers. I don't know about how his shot will translate. I didn't think he was a great shooter in college, so hopefully that translates. But I think this is a great pick, great fit next to Zion.
Q, what do we think? We got Zion the point guard.
I say this probably was probably seen as great like early on in the year, like beginning of the school year, like when he was on a tear, but as the season went on, like it got once you really dig into it, it's like a lot of things like athleticism there, his ability to like win off people off the dribble, getting to the rim, finishing at the rim, his offensive arsenal itself, like in terms of like self creation, is kind of bleak. Loves the step back 3, but on the surface, yes, like he can pass the ball. Yes, he can shoot the ball. I think those two is kind of essential if you're going to play next to Zion. Zion's going to have the ball in his hand most of the time. Then it's a lot of pressure off of him himself. But like just for the sake of positional value, then I guess this is a good fit. Like I said, I liked him better earlier. Obviously, he has a lot of flaws, but everybody got a lot of flaws. I probably could have went a different way here, but if you want to go back,
who would you have went? You would have went like Fears or something?
Definitely not fair. It's like I don't think it needs to. I don't think you necessarily needed a guard. Like if you're going in, if you already have your mind set on taking a point guard, then you're kind of like limiting on how you're trying to build a team. But if you're going all in with Zion getting the ball, and kind of doesn't really matter. I don't really trust him enough, like super on ball to be a lead guard for 35 plus minutes a night just yet. Still has some work to do, but it's a solid pick.
I mean, I agree with a lot of that, Q. I had Casters at 3 at some point in this cycle. That's how good he was playing. I had Casters at 3. I'm much lower on him now. To be honest, he's somewhere near like 14 or 15 on my board. To respond to Jaden, I think Casters will be a good shooter in the league. He shot 33% from 3 on I think like 10.3 attempts per 100. He has a good free throw shooting. So he's going to be a good shooter. I think he's also a very good passer. The way he processes the game in the pick and roll is really good. Not denying any of that. I think his turnover concerns are more so because he's not strong with the ball at all. And he's also his handle also can get better as well. It's not really dynamic. It's functional, I think. It's not dynamic. He just needs to be stronger with the ball, handle pressure better. And that's like the pathway to him becoming an elite guard in the NBA. Taking care of the ball better, getting to the rim more, not relying so much on screens, but the relying on screens thing is not that big of a deal. NBA offenses use screens all the time, every single play down the floor. I think with Casper is I think the defense is an issue. I think his athleticism is an issue, and that's pretty much it. I think for me, he's a simple evaluation. Shooting, playmaking. Can he be your lead guard is the question, but that's really it. And a defense. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I think this draft where it's like if a prospect goes as like 7 or 8 or 15, I'm not really like thinking too much into it. I think this class has a lot of players that can be quality starters, quality role players. I think Casper can, at worst, be a quality role player. He can probably be a quality starter if you have enough defense, shooting, and athleticism next to him. Like he was playing on BYU this year, he would look a lot better probably, because how good their offensive system is. Max, you're not an Illinois fan, you're a Michigan State fan, but I know you watch a lot of Casper because you watch the Big Ten. What do you think of this pick?
I mean, I've mocked this before. I've mocked him and Jeremiah Fears both going here. I think New Orleans is in desperate need for a point guard. So if someone falls to him, great. If they can trade up for Dylan Harper, like even better. But I think addressing a need at the point guard position, hopefully to have someone play alongside Zion is huge. Casper, we talked about it a lot last couple episodes, but his play was just so inconsistent throughout the year. Like you just saw some great moments and some terrible moments from him. You got to give it to him. Even when he wasn't shooting the ball well, he was still shooting the ball. So shot diet in that regard, just sometimes he'd be super inefficient for a game and would just keep shooting. Like it was just kind of questionable. I don't know. I think sometimes like I'll watch the game and I'll watch him play and like, wow, he can go top 5. Other times I watch him play and he doesn't even seem like a starter. So again, going with Casper in the past, I think if he pans out, he could be a perfect passing and play creating point guard for Zion, but it's the if that kind of sticks with me.
Sheldon, what you think?
I think this is a great fit here for New Orleans, to be honest with you. I think, earlier we touched on Dylan Harper off the ball and how he's been undersold a bit with his off-ball movement, cutting ability, spot-up play. I think for Jakučionis, I think he was completely miscast this past year at Illinois as the sole creator of offense because I'm just not a big Kylan Boswell guy. I did not trust any of the offensive process when Kylan Boswell was manning the ship, so to speak, for Illinois. And I do think for Jakučionis, part of the turnover rate, you had talked about the handle. I do think there's some concerns there in terms of being able to win in isolation, one-on-one matchups in the NBA. I think he's one of the most screen-reliant prospects in this entire draft. But at the same time, you put him into New Orleans system, which is going to have zoom action. You're going to play off of Zion, look to get him the ball in the pocket, look to get him the ball in short rolls. I think Jakučionis' overall feel, size, and positional playmaking capabilities, whether he's on or off the ball, will be really valuable here for New Orleans. And I think it's a great fit into their offensive team context with a very good team defense already built around him, in my opinion, moving forward with Misi's rim protection, Trey Murphy's length, and hopefully if you get an engaged Zion Williamson and a healthy one, this Pelicans team can be pretty solid.
Yeah, I think Misi will also be a decent screen and roll partner for him with his athleticism and Casper's ability to throw lobs like that. Again, I'm lower on him now, but I think if he gets in a situation where he's drafted by the Pelicans or he's drafted by maybe even like the Raptors or something like that, it could be advantageous for his development. All right, is it me at 8?
Yeah,
I think it is. Okay. Number 8 is who?
Brooklyn.
Oof. Okay.
I think.
All right. I'll stop it. I'll stop it.
Yeah,
I'll stop.
It should be nice.
I mean,
Crying.
He definitely isn't going next pick either. So you might as well just get it over with right now.
And he's not going to 10 either. I don't think he fits well at 10.
I'll scoop him at 11 at Portland, worst case scenario. So,
Bro, just take him, bro.
He wants to take Khan so bad. That's
literally what I'm thinking about right now. I want to
They
take Khan.
already got Khan on the roster.
Who is that?
Cam.
Cam
Johnson will be moving on pretty soon.
having two of them ain't bad either.
Damn, bro. I have Khan over Ace as a prospect again. I don't know.
I think it's because Brooklyn.
I don't think this is a good situation for him. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really want him to be drafted to be the number 1 guy. I just don't want that. I don't want that to happen. For Ace. I think Jordy Fernandez could try to use him like he uses Cam Johnson. But if Ace is going into a situation where he's going to be the number 1 guy, I think he can develop some even worse habits than he have now. That's why I'm really pausing right here at his pick, because you make the case that Ace is the best player on the board, and I'll hear you out. And I think I'm higher on him.
He has better like best player on the team potential than the other players. But if you're punting on Ace, then you take Khan, you're basically telling yourself that you're looking to get probably your guy next year, or like you're bringing somebody in, and then you're using like Khan as like to go along with the guys that you bring in, because that's the only way it kind of like makes sense. Because if you're drafting Ace, you need Ace to be the guy. You're going to try to develop him to be the guy. You don't really want him as like your sidekick.
Yeah.
Unless it was in like Philly.
I think I'm higher on Ace than like draft Twitter, but I'm lower on him than consensus. I think I have him in like 8 or 9 on my board right now, and Ace, like, I don't know. I just feel like it can go bad if he gets drafted into like, we're gonna give you the ball, 30% usage as a rookie. I think he can develop some really bad habits, but I really like him as a off-ball player with some on-ball juice, play finishing, defending. My problem is I don't know if that'll be Brooklyn's vision for him. I really don't know. I've seen how they've just handed usage to Cam Thomas. So I don't know, man. But I'm gonna do it. With the 8th overall pick, the Nets are gonna select Ace Bailey. This team is devoid of talent, to be honest. I think they can buy into the theoretical upside of Ace Bailey. I'm not sure that they will manage him correctly, but my thoughts on Ace Bailey, and I've spoke at length about this over the last few days, is I think he can be a really, really good off-ball player. He was really good coming off of screens and screens and curls and baseline out of bounds and a bevy of actions this year. I pause because his shot selection is legitimately awful. His feel for the game is pretty bad as well. But he is a plus athlete. I think he can be a plus defender on the next level if he can stay focused, because he does fall asleep a bit, but what 18-year-old doesn't? I think what's going to hold him back from reaching like primary status is the field, and his handle, which is not good enough. And he also needs to put on weight. Doesn't get to the rim enough to be a primary at all. I think Ace can be a second option on a good team, probably a third option on a championship winning team. Is what I view him as. I only pause because I don't know how team's going to use him. If I knew a team wanted to use him like Mikal Bridges, like a Cam Johnson, like a MPJ, I would be much higher on him. But I just don't know. So, what do you think, Sheldon?
I think the Ace Bailey dilemma this draft is one of the most fascinating, because you have people who are so high on him to the point where they think San Antonio should draft him over Dylan Harper, which I think is ludicrous. And then you also have the other side of the spectrum that thinks he is perhaps the biggest bust prospect in this class. And I don't really agree with either side of those things. I think he is a pretty high floor, fairly low ceiling player. And I know that's going to sound crazy, and some people are going to think I'm stupid saying that. Here's the thing. You look at some of the best players in the NBA, what's the common denominator? They can dribble the ball. They can get to spots on the floor. They can score for themselves. Ace Bailey's had the opportunities, ranked in the 99th percentile for Rutgers this past year in isolation volume across all of college basketball. The issue, he wasn't good in isolation. He thinks he's Carmelo Anthony, but if you go back to Carmelo Anthony's game, it all comes out of the triple threat, being able to beat people with his first step, exert rim pressure, and then from there, he had the jab step, pull up, able to knock down the long ball as well. Ace Bailey, there's the potential as the shooter to be an effective player, like we've talked about, as an off-ball guy. The issue is you have to rewire him mentally to be willing to do that. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't catch, shoot. He doesn't catch, go. He catches, thinks, then does something. And I think for his NBA projection, there's a lot of tools. He has kind of the physical gifts that you would look for in a number 1, number 2 overall pick typically. I think it's a really tough challenge, though, for a coach to really, truly maximize him as a player in the NBA.
I agree with all that. I just made a video about that not too long ago. Max, you wanted to select him at 3. He falls 8. What's your thoughts? You're the biggest Ace fan on the spot.
I wouldn't say biggest Ace fan. That's kind of crazy.
Does he remind you of Brandon Miller? That's why you like him so much?
Huh?
Does he remind you of Brandon Miller? Because remember, you wanted to pick Brandon Miller over Scoot. I remember you got that take.
I think Brandon Miller's game's more polished, so no.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the sole person on here who wanted Brandon Miller over Scoot.
Whoa.
No, I think. Huh?
The jury's still out.
Okay. No, I don't know. I just think fit-wise with Philadelphia, I feel like the shot diet just dies. So I just don't think like the pressure's as big. Brooklyn's similar to Utah for me, where you just need scoring. You already have Cam Thomas, like I guess is someone who's just shot chucking, but like,
oh man,
again,
Cam Thomas and Ace Bailey together. Oh, that's gonna be entertain the hoops, bro.
I just think right now, like again, we're
And Kuminga.
Yeah, Kuminga, Ace, and Cam Thomas low field hoops. Like that would be like a low field. Like that would be
the most
crazy.
fun 28 win team of all time.
I just feel like Brooklyn's just got so low stakes to miss on a pick right now. I'm sorry, but like taking a swing on Ace Bailey, hoping for the best, I just don't think is crazy. Like Brooklyn just needs something. They have so many first round picks. I think they have 4 first round picks this year. So maybe you package those and you try and move up, but like I really don't think it's a bad choice. Like especially if Cam Johnson's gone and Nick Claxton's gone, you're really playing for nothing this year, and you put Ace Bailey there as a pure scorer. Like just see what he can do. Give him the rock and see where he goes. But
all right, so number 9 is Q.
Yeah.
This is the
Raptors. They wish Queen and Malawat are still here right now. They really wish they would have got lucky with the draft lottery.
Best player available, man. It's easy, man.
Let him make his pick, bro. Let him make his pick. Let him make his choice.
This team needs a center. They need a big. I also think, they need shooting. They also need a point guard, but
Emmanuel quickly.
They also need a point guard, but I don't like the fit with my guy right here.
OBI?
I think he wants to go CMB. He wants to go CMB right here.
I do.
No, that fit is awful.
It don't work.
Sounds like something Masai Ujiri would love.
They need some shooting, some secondary playmaking, some off-ball movement. Somebody about 6'7", 6'6",
6'4".
play off 2 feet. I don't know anybody. I don't know. Maybe somebody. I don't know.
Don't listen to him, Q. Go to the beat your own drum. You got this, Q. You talk about Neek Clifford, right, Latif?
Right. Bro, Noah Singa is 22 on his board. Lord.
You know what? the 9th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Toronto Raptors are going to select Carter Bryant. With Carter, he does everything. Like he does everything. I'm not gonna say everything well, but he's one of those like he fits in type of players. Like his number's not gonna show because he didn't play a lot, but like you could just see like he could pretty much do everything on the court. The fit with the Raptors is kind of weird because they're very wing and forward heavy. But he doesn't. I don't think he will get in the way, and I don't expect R.J. Barrett to be there. Jacoby Walter and Grady Dick doesn't really stop you from making him play minutes. So I think the board felt bad for them. The draft itself felt bad for them, but I think this is probably a decent fit for where they at on the board.
I love Carter Bryant. I think consensus is finally catching up to where he's supposed to be going. Well, maybe not this high, but consensus is finally catching up. And Arizona didn't play him enough. They were much better when he was on the floor. I don't know why it took them so long to figure that out. He's going to give you he shot 37% from 3 this year on decent volume. He is literally probably a top 5 defender in this class. Versatile defender. He creates events as well. He's a really good defender. I don't know. They're pretty wing heavy, and I don't think he can start right away because having him in the lineup with BI and he could. They would be huge. Low key. Maybe he could start. But I think Carter Bryant's like handle. He doesn't like create his own shot really at all. You know what you're getting. It's 3-and-D. Like, but the defense may be all NBA level. That's the sale. The defense may be all NBA level, and then he can shoot a 3.
I know, like there's a obviously I would go Con here, but I think it serves him better to go the next pick.
Right.
I think it just falls better for that. Like for his,
he may don't play rookies, man. So who knows?
I was gonna go with Carter Bryant the next pick, so it's funny you swapped it for me.
Oh, excuse me.
No. I'm saying that if Khan wasn't there, I assume you were taking Khan, so I was gonna go with Carter. But then I swapped it.
All right, let's move on to the Rockets. What do we think they need? Who they drafting right here?
With the 10th overall pick, the Houston Rockets will go with Khan Knuppel. I think Khan could play the 2, could play the 3. Again, I know we're not a huge Jalen Green podcast, so he might be on the move with whatever they do. I think this can kind of hopefully propel them to go get Giannis, and I think Khan's a great player to put alongside Giannis. Obviously 6'6", 6'7". I think he can score, he can defend, he can shoot. Like, I think he could fit on almost any team in the league, and he'll be needed on almost any team in the league. I would like to see Khan go to a contender. I think he could be a little more win now than a lot of other guys on this in this draft. I guess I think he could be a little more pro ready, and I think a team like Houston, who's just a 2 seed, will need him to be a consistent 3D wing for the next couple of seasons. So I think you tried it with Reed Shepherd, and I think you tried again with Khan Knuppel.
Hey man, Khan is 4th on my big board. I had him around like 10 to 14 most of the year, and then he had that really great run in March. And I moved him up. Every time I watch Khan, I get higher on him somehow. His processing is elite. He diagnoses the defense super quickly. His off-ball skills are elite. Can come off screens. Can attack a closeout. Really good. He's the second best shooter in his class behind Trey Johnson. And I think his handle is fine. His craftiness is fine. Now, he definitely is a bad athlete. And that's where the concern goes, because you kind of think like, how high is his ceiling? Because he's not a great athlete. But I think he scores using his strength. He scores because he has a very good understanding of the game, of when to drive a closeout, when to try to get to the rim, when to shoot the ball. He's great at using angles. He's great at playing off 2 feet. And the Rockets can really use this. They need some playmaking. They need some shooting very, very bad. They tried to get it with Reed Shepherd, who I think can still be a solid player in the NBA. But Khan is almost like Reed Shepherd without the like defensive playmaking at 6'6", 6'7", almost necessarily. So Ime doesn't play rookies. but I think it would be a mistake to not play this one. Honestly,
I love Khan here for Houston specifically. Like, you're looking at a player who's extremely decisive. I think that's the key buzzword here when you look at Khan as a player, is not only is he a shooter, and of course people are going to label him as, quote, just a shooter in this draft, but I think there's a lot more in his game that comes off of that shooting gravity, specifically when he catches the ball on the perimeter, whether it's coming off of wide pins or functioning as a ghost screener, Spain screener, whatever it may be. There's value when he catches the ball because of the kinds of closeouts he draws. You're not going to be able to comfortably close out softly against him. And because of that, his ability to get 2 feet to the paint and, like Latif said, play off of 2 feet, play with balance, play with some functional play strength, into traffic, into contact, make decisions off of that, really all stems from his shooting, where he's going to be an elite shooter in the NBA. And the processing speed, I think, really benefits him as well when it comes to rounding out the remainder of his game. And I think, listen, I love it for Houston. They need more shooting. I do not love it for Ime Udoka specifically because of the lack of offensive creativity here. The Rockets have spammed using the dunker spot. I think that's really great with their personnel. I think there's a real lack of creativity with off-ball action. I think there's a real lack of creativity with perimeter spacing. And I think Khan would be best suited in a team context that utilizes that better, like Indiana with Rick Carlisle. But of course, the Pacers aren't here in the top 10. The Rockets are, and I think this is still a very good pick for them skill set-wise around Şengün and company.
Q, where do you have Khan on a theoretical board?
He's 5.
Okay. That's good.
Like I said, I kind of like manufactured this pick for that purpose. I think he fits in. Like, I think he's best for like a team that's trying to win. Like, you don't have to wait for a lot of development from him. Like, his base level skill set coming into the league is pretty fine for like a winning level team right now.
Yeah, Ime Udoka needs an offensive coordinator badly, for sure. All right. So is it Jaden?
Me with Portland here.
Yeah, you're right.
I keep losing track. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. With the 11th overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Portland TrailBlazers select Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina. And I think for Portland specifically, this is an opportunity for them to continue building to their team defense. And I actually think, people are going to question CMB's fit specifically without a true stretch big man. Of course, Ayton can step out, shoot the ball, but I'm mostly focused on the long-term fit with Donovan Clingan, who they drafted last year in the top 10 out of UConn. I think CMB, while yes, Clingan, there is some potential he could grow into a stretch big long-term. I really don't care about that for them here. I think mostly the playmaking hub that Clingan is as a handoff user at the top of the key, as a facilitator on back cut, something he did a lot for UConn in his 2 national championship runs. I think Murray Boyles' cutting, connectivity, play finishing at the rim, really respectable rim gravity for a 6'7" player in the SEC. I think there's a lot of value here. He was a huge positive for a very bad team in the Gamecocks. And I think going forward specifically, if you're looking at how to improve this Portland team, getting someone who's a lot better on both ends of the floor than Jeremy Grant, someone who actually rebounds the basketball, someone who can defend his position and provide help, I think strengthens Clingan's defensive value a ton too. So for Portland here, I've got a pretty easy pick for me going with CMB at this spot.
Yeah, I definitely question the fit between Clingan and Colin Murray Boyles, especially when you got like a point guard in Shaedon Sharpe. I mean, not Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson, who is improved as a shooter this year, but still not the best shooter. I mean, it makes a solid defense, a solid defense even better for sure. But yeah, I like CMB a lot higher than 11, and I don't hate it. I would just question, I think one of those, Clingan or Murray Boyles, is going to have to grow as a shooter to make it work in the playoffs. Number 12 is the Bulls.
Yeah, go ahead, Jada.
You are a Bulls fan.
I don't know.
Jaden gets all his teams.
The Bulls need everything, bro.
Except the guard.
Yeah, they have too many guards, bro. Too many.
I think the Bulls take best player available no matter what position it is. Not gonna lie.
It's predicated on them trading whoever else they get, whoever else they have.
Got a hometown hero in Jeremiah Fears, potentially.
Crying.
Maybe he's next to Rose.
Hey, man.
Please.
You got Jaeger Demon, who was a 6'10" demigod point guard.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, bro.
Oh man.
You got Jaeger Demon. You got Jaeger Demon on the roster already.
Yeah, like he can't shoot, bro. He can't shoot. Yeah, man, I really don't know. Bro, should I go like big here, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would because, what's his name? Vucevic is not going to be there for. I mean, he's at the tail end of his career. He'll probably try to trade him next year.
Bro.
Take a pick of the best big you want. Power forward, center.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't know who this Austin Well guy is.
Steve don't like him. That's who he is.
Steve don't like him.
Steve does not like him.
I don't think he's a 4. I don't know if he's a 4 or a 5.
I feel like Noah would be a Chicago Bulls kind of pick.
No, I think yeah.
SNG would definitely be.
Let's go with him. I don't know these guys, but let's go with him.
I'll educate you on him. So Noah Singa, can you say that, at least say the
With the 12th pick, Chicago Bulls select Noah Singa.
All right, so Noah Singa has been one of the biggest draft risers in his class as of late. I think the Bulls would definitely select him. He's probably one of the best prospects available in this class. Really good defender, really good in transition. He is not surprisingly, but he's really good at getting to the foul line. They had a playoff game yesterday. I think he went 13 for 13 from the free throw line. Really good off-ball cutter. And he is the second youngest player in this draft class. So theoretically, I think a lot of people that like Noah Singa think he has like this untapped potential. He's got comparisons to Giannis Antetokounmpo, like seriously comparisons to Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially rookie Giannis. My concerns for him are just his handle is not good enough. I don't know if he's going to be great in the half court. Don't know if he's going to be able to shoot it well enough. He needs to put on weight as well. And he needs to grow as like a quick decision maker out of short roll situations. But to just harp on the points that people like about him, it is youth, measurables, because he's like 6'9" with like a 7 feet wingspan. Getting to free throw line, playing in transition, and defense.
Is he more of like a wing or
no? He's a well, he can't be a wing, yeah, sure. If the handle progresses, right now I think he's more like a 4 to me. Sheldon, what you think?
I think he's pretty position locked as a 4, to be honest, and I think a lot of it stems from the same questions you have about his handle. I've seen people even put him as high on their boards as number 2 in this class, which I think is very optimistic. He's a very talented play finisher with great size for like in terms of like length and height, and I think he has a very instinctive way to play off the ball. I think his cutting, his ability to play off the baseline, and then ultimately quickly decide to attack the rim or attack closeouts. I think that's really where you're finding the value, and I think you see that in his free throw rate this year for Ratio Farm Ulm over in Germany, playing off of Ben Saraf. Like there's value as a play finisher, and I think for Chicago it's a good fit because you have Kobe White, you have Josh Giddey, you play with a lot of pace. This team's very quick, athletic around Vucevic, who obviously doesn't exemplify a lot of those qualities. So I do think Asenge fits here pretty well, but in terms of the overall upside ceiling, I am quite hesitant for the reasons you listed.
Key, what do you think, Asenge, to the Bulls?
I think this is a very Chicago Bullsy pick.
You definitely get PTSD from Patrick Williams, I think.
I was like, everything you said, like covered it. Like, I think they want to go big here, but I'm not. Not that I'm so like I probably could have went sober right here, but it's up in the air. And if it's the Chicago Bulls, you don't know, they might just be doing some type of Hail Mary like that.
All right, next up is Atlanta Hawks. At 13.
That's you, Latif.
Oh, I lost track already, so I don't know. That's cool. Atlanta Hawks. I think this Atlanta Hawks need. I could talk myself into another big.
Go Just go with him. Just get him off the board.
I mean, Fears is still out there too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Another
All right.
Oklahoma point guard.
I mean, I guess. I mean, they do need a backup point guard, but I don't know. Let me scan the board really quickly first. Sure. I don't like Fears that much. I don't like him more than
You don't like Fears that much. Since when?
I like him. I want him to be good. He's from Illinois. He's from Chicago. But I was sour on him as a prospect. And I was playing well. I'll pick him. But I like Jace better. But with the 13th overall pick, the Atlanta Hawks are going to select Jeremiah Fears. Fine. I'll take him. Fears was really high on him too in the beginning of the year. I was releasing a board every single month. So when Fears hit that high streak in the beginning of the year, I was really high on him. He was at 4 on my board. What I like about Fears, he's super young. I think the third youngest player in this class. Yep. And his handle, really good. His ability to get to the paint, really good. The mid-range shooting, really good. The free throw shooting, really good. The fact that he was able to handle usage like he did in the toughest conference in, I think, NCAA history, really good. A lot of positives, theoretically. But my issues come with he did not shoot the 3-ball enough for me. He's a 6'2", 6'3" guard. I want the 3-point volume higher. He also finished like 44% at the rim in the half court. That is worrisome for me a little bit. He had incredibly high usage, played in the tough conference. So that combined with his age, that's why evaluators like him. I got him at around like 14, 15 because I think he's at almost like a boom or bust prospect. It can go really good, but it can also go really bad. Or he can also turn out as like a backup point guard type of thing. The Hawks need any type of creation outside of Trae Young. They've had to need a backup point guard for a long time. So this is a fine pick. But there's a lot of things like about Jeremiah Fears. I can't get up to like top 10, top 5 with him, but he does have some upside for sure. He needs to improve. I do think he'll be a good 3-point shooter because the free throw percentage is high, the mid-range percentage is high. He shot decent volume, but yeah, that's my spiel.
My running comp for Fears in this historically is
it was a Kemba Walker, right?
Yeah, Kemba Walker. Yeah, I think he's a slightly taller Kemba. And there's a couple ways to look at that. You can look at that as a great thing because Kemba was an all-NBA player for a season, all-star multiple times, or you can look at it from the lens that Charlotte never won with him. And that if that's your primary creator and he doesn't do a lot of stuff off the ball and he's not an elite defender, how do you win? And I think for Atlanta, obviously it's a different team context. They already have a lot of pieces in place. I think he slates in very well there, but we'll see if he's actually there on draft night or not. But I think the Hawks are one of the places that could really surround him because they've already been doing that to try and surround Trae Young. So it's interesting. What percentile
outcome do you think Kemba Walker is?
Like 80th percentile. Like I think that's like one of his higher end outcomes, but it's not like I don't think unattainable in terms of the handle. And Kemba came out of college as a junior out of UConn. So I think you're looking at someone who the 3-point attempt rate was pretty similar, free throw rates pretty similar, especially like later college career. Kemba got to the free throw line a ton. I think that's something Fears, like as a freshman, I think Fears is ahead of Kemba in a lot of ways where Kemba was as a freshman. And then you also look at the fact that he reclassified up a year. You touched on how young he is. Like, I don't think it's an unrealistic individual long-term progression point, but the question, and this is something the draft community consistently misses, you don't draft for 15 to 20 point per game scorers, you draft to win games. And, I think Atlanta's a great landing spot because of what they have there around him and the efforts they've put into building a team defense. But, seeing Fears and Trae together would be interesting because neither of them do anything without the ball in very Oklahoma Sooner fashion at the point guard spot. So,
yeah, they were Trae. If he's pens at least. All right, at the 14 with the Spurs.
Cute.
with the 14th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, San Antonio Spurs select Rasheed Fleming.
I like it.
I feel like in real life, they're probably Pop will probably pick like Liam McNeely, but he doesn't provide anything but shooting. Like he literally doesn't do anything else. Sure, he's a good rebounder. Not in this aspect. I don't think he is. Shit, Fleming, he good size, can defend, can shoot the ball, put the ball in forth a little bit. I think he's not actually going to be actually doing a lot. Pretty much rotational player. I think eventually he could, if they do move on from like a Sohan, obviously a Harrison Barnes, he ends up sliding and taking those minutes, and him as a defender next to Wemby is going to be great. Doesn't have to really do much on offense. It's pretty much just finishing plays because they have all the offense that they need on the team.
I like the pick. I think he is a good athlete, great defender. He can hit a spot out three. His issue is he can't put the ball on the floor and he can't pass. But you probably only need him to shoot and defend. That's all you cut. That's really all you need him to do. If they draft Harper, already got De'Aaron Fox, Wemby, cast off the bench, create offense. You don't really need him to do much as far as anything else. So he's also older, so I don't think he's going to develop into much else than what he already is. But that's a solid rotational player if he can knock down threes. 15.
I got an easy one with 15.
This you.
Yeah, exactly.
This
I was
you.
originally like opposed. I opposed the wrong word.
Under. That's nice.
I was opposed the wrong word, but I think the fit obviously is there. With the 15th overall pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder will go with Nick Clifford. I feel like this is the most Thunder pick at the position right now. I think this just makes sense. Obviously, he shot the three ball pretty well his senior year. I love the progressions though he made from his freshman to his final year in college. He's an older prospect. He's 6'6". He got averaged almost 10 rebounds a game. His free throw percentage, I think, went up 20% from freshman to his final year. His three-point percentage kind of spiked sophomore year, but went back down and then consistently went up. Like, he's been a much, much better shooter throughout college. He can still rebound the basketball. He can defend. He's this versatile player that we're trying to get out in OKC, trying to have guys who can just guard different positions. So I think his shooting ability will be needed day one, and I think his switch ability will also be needed day one.
I want the Thunder to get more volume of shooting. Maybe it doesn't need to come in the draft. Maybe you guys don't need to pick a player at all. Honestly, I think you need to stop picking players in the draft. Honestly, at some point you need to move these picks.
Yeah, like the longest tenured guy is 2019.
As far as the pick though, I love it. I love Nick Clifford as a prospect. I think Nick Clifford is going to be a good NBA player, a good rotational player, maybe a good starter. I did move him lower on my board, I think, but he exemplifies like dribble, pass, shoot, defend a little bit. And the Thunder are in desperate need of players that can actually drive a closeout. Because as you've seen in the Nuggets series, no one can drive a closeout. Like literally no one. Even J-Dub struggled to do that, so it's really only SGA. Everybody else can't really drive a closeout. So Nick Clifford can do that. He was able to scale up. He was able to scale down. Super versatile player. So yeah, I like to pick for the Thunder. If you do select it here, he should be ready to win now. He's kind of like that J-Dub player, kind of like a mid-major guy that was productive. Max, you should look into Cedric Coward. I don't know if you know about him.
Yeah,
but he's also
Stanford and Duke guy, or Washington State and Duke guy.
Yeah, well, he's not going to Duke, but yeah, probably not. Yeah, good pick though, Max. 16. Who was that?
That's me here with Orlando.
Okay.
With the 16th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic select Asa Newell out of Georgia. And I think specifically for the Magic here, looking at what this team historically does, they're not going to draft shooting. That's very, very clear here. This is something that they continue to push off and avoid doing. So if you're trying to pick the next best thing for them, something that can help their offense, which has continued to have playoff shortcomings year after year, the past couple of years under the Banchero-Wagner regime, I think you're looking at ways to improve offensively by getting to the glass more. And that's something Asa Newell does at an elite level, averaged 3.3 offensive rebounds per game this past year for Georgia, and is a player who I think has some long-term intriguing potential as a role man specifically with his screen short roll. If you're going to be a big believer in his long-term touch development, you look at the way that Ivica Zubac has really developed over in Los Angeles. Asa Newell, a very different player in terms of the physical archetype, not nearly as big, bulky, and strong as Zubac. But if you're hoping for the actual skill development, I think Zubac is a great example of a player for him to watch. And then there's also some of that physical above the rim work to play with, where you look at his pro days specifically. Again, I'm not a huge believer in one-on-one workouts. I don't really think it shows you much, but the athletic traits are there. He can get above the rim. He's physically gifted, long, slender body, jumps well. I think there's value there if you're looking for a weak side lob threat, someone who can be a long roll pressure setter as well on the rim. Shot a few threes at Georgia, didn't really have a ton of success with it. I'm not going to really hold a lot of stock in his shooting development long term. If he learns how to shoot, it's a cheat code weapon for the Magic moving forward. I really do think Orlando's best suited trading picks 16 and 25 together for an established point guard who can stretch the floor, shoot the ball off the dribble and off of pull-ups. I'm not sure if they're going to do that, so they go Asa Newell here.
I would have loved if they would have drafted Jace Richardson here. I think they potentially have the defense around him to insulate him as far as his size. He offers you shooting. He can pass a bit. He's very efficient from basically every spot on the floor. They need more shooting. They need more offense. I probably would have drafted Jace Richardson for the Magic, but Asa Newell, while I'm lower on him because I don't think he's gonna be a great rim protector. I think I kind of do buy the shot a little bit. He is a really good athlete as well, really good rebounder. And he was super productive at Georgia, one of the most productive freshmen in the country. And they need an athletic big for sure. So, it's cool. It's cool.
I think the Jace shout is a great one, by the way. Those were the two players I was kind of going back and forth on here. I think Asa is probably the more realistic outcome for Orlando, just given their draft history, which is ultimately why I went him here. But I do think Jace, one of his best possible outcomes is Orlando, because you're looking at putting him next to jumbo playmakers, bigger ball handlers to maximize some of his off-ball skills without jeopardizing your defense too much, like you had talked about with the insulation around him. And Banchero clearly fits a lot of those criteria. And then also Wagner and his development as an on-ball player from his time at Michigan has checked a lot of those boxes too. So I do think Jace is a very viable option at 16 if Orlando went that way too.
You're at the Timberwolves with the 17th pick. Don't know if Jaden is here.
Jaden's up with 17.
He said he's here.
Jaden's up with 17.
Okay, he's using the bathroom. All right, so with the 17th overall pick, the Timberwolves are going to select Jace Richardson for basically all the reasons I just said. They actually also have the insulation to help him. Mike Conley is old, and I think with Ant's playmaking improvement, these guys can be the backcourt of the future. Now, Dante's still there, obviously, so he want to start year one, and they obviously just drafted Rob Dillingham. Huh?
Oh, you said backcourt of the future. I forgot.
I love Rob. It's kind of looking spooky. I'm not gonna lie. And what I was taking Rob as high as I took him last year in this class, or when I think about how my draft philosophy has grown since then, no, too small. Which Jason's also small too, but he has a 6'6" wingspan. So that helps him. I think he's going to be tenable defensively. He's not going to be a negative at all. He is a much better athlete than he gets credit for. That was shown at the combine with that 40-inch vertical. So yeah, Jace Richardson, connective, off-ball guard that can play next to a primary creator like Anthony Edwards. I think he'll compete defensively. He's a really good shooter. I think he was at 41% on 7.3 attempts per 100. He got his free throw percentage is high. He can drive a closeout. He can score in the mid-range. He's one of the smartest players in his class, one of the most productive players in his class. He's number 11 on my board. I think his floor is a really, really solid rotational guy. And I think he has some interesting ceiling outcomes as a really high impactful role player. Max, this is your guy, Jace Richardson. I told you he was the best player on your team months ago. What do you think?
I think when the measurements came out, everything was that much scarier for me. Him only measuring in at 6 foot, I think is something that being a Michigan State fan, I feel like you could see at every game, right? With the naked eye, you could see that.
That's why I play with shoes.
I understand. Everybody's got shoes on though. So again, him being shorter definitely scares me. But like him coming into this year, like he surprised me more than anyone else on the team. Obviously, like his shooting ability, his defensive awareness, but his effort, his want to defend, his want to score, his want to be a team player, like fitting on a team like Minnesota that's win now. I think Jace is super, super valuable to that kind of culture. And I think you have a couple teams later in the draft who would love to get Jace's mentality. Again, I feel like it's cheesy, but like it's a Tom Izzo mentality to defend, to switch, to shoot, like just to be active, to rebound. So I think for a team like Minnesota, again, I think he'd be pretty plug and play to throw in there, and you could rely on him for regular season minutes. Maybe he is a playoff minutes kind of guy. It's just the size. The size is the only thing that scares me that can affect his playmaking, can affect how he shoots the basketball, who he shoots over. But his finishing is dynamic. He can get to his spots, and he is a microwave shooter. So I really think that Jace, if he pans out, can be an elite role player for a lot of these teams later in the draft. But I just hope that he can actually turn out into that and can bulk up or whatever. But the size doesn't affect his play.
Handle is really nice too. Gotta mention that. Is it my turn again at 18? I was like, just
for the Wizards.
Good luck, man. Wizards at 18. So the Wizards just selected Derek Queen at the 4. They got Sarge at the 5 momentarily. I think they should go best player available here. Which I honestly think is Thomas Sorber, but they already got a big, so I won't do that again. I think I'm gonna take a wing. Wing. Is such a coward on this thing on here? Is such a coward on here?
I'm saying if you want to go all defense, if they want to get an all defense lineup, it's definitely a person you could take.
Cedric Coward is probably not on this no ceilings one. Shame on them. All right, I don't see.
You could just say Cedric Coward and just draft in someone else.
No, that's fine. With the 18th overall pick, the Wizards are going to select Noah Penda. He's a really good defender, one of the best defenders in his class. Versatile defender, can guard at the point of attack and also switch a little bit. The 3-point shooting was solid this year. You can put the ball on the floor as well and create for others as far as his passing. Got a really good feel. Noah Penda, I think, is rising on a lot of people's mock drafts. Draft Twitter loves him. I've watched some of his film and a lot of his games. He's a solid player. I think he's going to be a high impactful role player because of his defense, because of his 3-point shooting ability off the spot, spotting up, and his ability to pass the ball. He has a really high feel, really good defender. That's pretty much it. Washington has they need good players, and Penda's a good player. So
and he fit right in. He French.
Yeah, facts. Good point, bro. Good point.
I can't lie. I'm very uncultured on the Penda pick, so that's my mistake.
He's a basketball player. Just know that he's a basketball.
He's a
playmaking wing. That's the way I can describe him. He's one of the best defenders in his class.
This me at 19.
Yeah. I know I'm taking with 20. I love this fit at 20, so you better not go with my guy at 20.
Probably not. With the 19th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Thomas Sorber.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, good pick.
I don't know with the Nick Claxton. I don't know if that's up in the air or not. Regardless if he's on the roster or not, you still use another big. He's like, I don't want to say a throwback big, but like he's pretty stationary. Could defend, can finish plays. He's not really a lob threat, but he is good as a roller. Injury might scare you a little bit, but I think he's a solid player. I think he's probably the best player on the board right now.
Sorber is an elite defensive rim protector, elite defensive big. I think he had like an 8% block percentage, if I'm not mistaken. And their defense was much better with him on the floor protecting the rim. Like Q alluded to, he's kind of like an old school big. Likes to post up. He actually wasn't that great as a roller this year, but I think that had to do with the guard play around him, which is not getting better in Brooklyn. But I think against like high competition, he struggled to finish like layups near the rim. It's either that in a half court, but I kind of want to say he reminds me a little bit of Jared Allen, a little bit. He has really good feel, really nice passer. I think he'll be able to shoot like from the mid range. The numbers weren't good at all, so that's like a little bit of a hunch. But yeah,
like he's more like Jermaine O'Neal.
Sheldon, what you think?
His offense is the drawback. It's a drawback. Like I don't know if the offense is going to be good enough, but he's going. I would take him higher to like the Bulls. I think he's going to be an elite defensive big. Like he's really good at protecting the rim.
Sheldon, what do you think?
I have some concerns about Sorber myself because, Latif brought up the block percentage. That is like his biggest selling point. And then he measures into the combine with a 7'6" wingspan and everyone's losing their mind for him. And I get it. But I don't know. He is also had the same standing reach as Derek Queen. So Derek Queen's got all of these size problems. Sorber's the exact same height as him without shoes on. He has the exact same standing reach, actually a shorter standing reach by a quarter of an inch than Derek Queen. And yet Sorber is going to be projected as this elite drop coverage big man because he blocked shots for Georgetown. But Derek Queen, everyone's penciling in as only a 4 and a tweener big because of size concerns and whatever. Like, yeah, he doesn't jump as high as Sorber, but I think he moves his feet a lot better. And the one thing Sorber didn't do at all this past year for Georgetown was ever defend out on the perimeter. He played a very lazy drop coverage. And I think if you're going into the NBA, let's say Brooklyn takes him here. Okay, let's look at a matchup against New York. It's going to be a Karl Anthony Towns ball screen for Jalen Brunson. Brunson's going to step into a wide open mid-range pull-up, or you're going to hit Cat on the pop. I don't really see Sorber being a super effective drop coverage big despite a gaudy block rate. But I do understand the upside long-term because if you do put the right infrastructure around him and funnel guys to the rim, that's where his value is. And erasing the rim from team offense is great, but I have concerns about him against some of the best ball handler pick and roll combos in the league. So that's where I stand.
Where do you got him on your board?
He was not in my top 30 on my last board. I think part of the questions for me too is like, he's already coming off of a foot injury or a leg injury that he had to deal with as a big man. You have track records of bigs having concerns with that. I do love a lot of the traits. And I feel like if it was 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been all in on this kind of prospect. But I think with offensive concerns, there's one thing I really love for his face-up game out of the mid post. I think there's some real value in his triple threat game and rip and go, but I don't know. I just think this is like a long-term projection pick where it's going to take multiple years. And this might be a scheme thing too, where he gets into the NBA and, he put on a lot of weight going into the combine. He actually measured in as the heaviest player at the combine. But I do think all things considered, if he is able to play active mobile defense out on the perimeter and completely adjust his defensive tape, there's value, but I'm just pretty cautious at this point of time with it. So
yeah, I'm not expecting him to. I expect him to be an impactful drop big. That's pretty much it. Solid rebounder, solid defender. I don't know. I think in the right situation, I think in Minnesota, if he played in Minnesota, I love spots for Minnesota. I love that spot for him.
I agree.
The Bulls are fine. What other spots did I like for him? Just teams that need backup bigs or whatever.
He needs to be somewhere with good screen nav around him because otherwise they're just going to bleed points in pick and roll, pick and pop game, especially the first 2 years of his career, I'm sure. So,
Q, is that you had 20 with the Heat?
It's me.
No, that's
at number 20. Miami is going with Yaxel Lendenberg out of, is it UAB, right?
Correct.
UAB. We're not counted as Michigan. I hope he stays in this draft. I think this is a very Miami Heat pick. They're in desperate need of a player to play alongside Bam. And I think that the offensive and defensive abilities of Yaxel, I think Miami could definitely mold him into a great complementary big alongside Bam. I hate to say that I like Yaxel, and I think that he will become a very, very good role player in the league. I hope that he doesn't go back to Michigan. Even though he's getting paid whatever $3 million from them. He is a very, very interesting will he stay or will he go, depending on what kind of promise or draft promises he gets. Because I think next year he could be one of the best players in college basketball. and could maybe rise the stock a little more or drop. Who knows? But I think that he has a high risk, high reward on both sides. I think if he goes back to college basketball, he'll ball. I think if he goes to a team, again, like Miami, I think who can develop very well, especially on that wing-ish position. Being 6'9", I think he could slide from the 3 to the 4, but I think playing alongside Bam helps out defensively, and he can stretch the floor.
I think that they need a point guard.
Yeah, I'd go guard. I'd go big.
Well, I mean, would you go on Igor or no?
No, Nolan Troy.
That's it. Like, and I'll go with you. I like Yax's upside a lot. So
I like Yax as a prospect. Really good athlete. Knocked down a 3 pretty well this year. Can defend. He kind of reminds me of Aaron Gordon a little bit, lazily as a comp. I would have went Nolan Trail right here. Not even the biggest fan of him, but they need a point guard. He can pressure the rim. He can play make for others. And he's really came on.
They're getting Ja, bro. It's fine. They're getting Ja.
I'm sure they are, Max.
Listen to Twitter. They're getting Ja.
I would have went a guard, maybe even Ben Saraf. I'm not that high on. Maybe even Walter Clayton. Well, I'm not that high on Walter Clayton Jr. I think even LeBaron Feilan will work really well with Miami. He kind of fits their Heat culture or whatever. But yeah, I would have went a guard. Maybe probably Feilan.
Boogie? You going Boogie Fland right here?
No, he shouldn't. He should go back. He's going back to
school. He withdrew. Yeah, he withdrew.
He You're right.
Yeah, thankfully, because he shot like 30% at the rim. So
all right, Sheldon's up with Utah.
With the 21st pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz select Adu Thiero from Arkansas. We're just talking about his counterpart teammate, Boogie Fland, from last year, and I think Adu Thiero has star upside. And that's not something I typically say for athletic wings. In fact, a lot of the time I end up fading a majority of athletic wings. I think Adu Thiero has very similar traits to OG Anunoby as a player. And I think Thiero is going to be one of the best value picks in this entire draft. I think he's going to be underdrafted. There will be players like Yegor Demin. There'll be these theoretical idea players drafted before Adu Thiero, who's actually just flat out good at basketball. One of the most functionally athletic players in this draft. You know, arguably, you could argue that maybe Cooper Flagg's one of the few guys who are actually more functionally athletic than him in this class. I think there's so much value as a cutter, a self-creator, as a driver, slasher archetype. Obviously, there's concerns around the three-point shooting. If you guys have watched any of my content in the past, you'll know that I prefer spacing. The more guys you have that can actually shoot the ball, the better. Adu Thiero is one of the guys that bends those rules for me. I think he's so damn athletic and very, very good with the basketball in his hands and off of it on the baseline that there's value. And defensively, he can guard 1 through 4. I do prefer him off the ball as nail, gap help, low man help than I do on the ball, but I still think there's value there as well if a team does use him that way. So,
for some like background, I was a Kentucky fan for most of my college basketball watching.
Don't say that. You're a Coach Cal fan. That's it.
I love
say you're a Kentucky fan. You could just say that by saying you're a Kentucky fan.
Okay, cool. I love Coach Cal because he breeds NBA players, NBA guards. He wants the best for his kids as far as getting to the NBA. So I'm a really big Coach Cal fan. That's really my only allegiance in college basketball. So I watched a lot of Arkansas. I was really high on Boogie Fland to come in the middle of this, in the beginning of this draft cycle. The rim finishing was too bad for me to stay on him. He had to drop out of my mock or whatever. Adu Thiero, though, was definitely their best player. His profile statistically is insane. Insane steal and block. He has a 69.2 free throw rate. Like, I was finishing my board today. I was definitely trying to get higher on him. I stuck him around like 16. I'll probably go higher because his box plus minus is really good. Steal rate, free throw rate, really good, which is indicative of star upside. He does remind me of an OG Anunoby. If the jump shot can really grow, he can create his own in the half court. My issues is not that great of a passer. And in the half court, he was at 58% at the rim. So he's obviously much better in transition. But he's a ridiculous athlete. Like ridiculous. He's probably the best athlete in the class. I mean, I'm not. You can say that. I'm probably gonna end up higher on him, to be honest. Maybe move him closer to like 10 or whatever, where I can fit him in. But his profile is nuts.
This is the type of player, by the way, that if Oklahoma City does draft him just at 15, the rest of the league's going to be like, oh, shoot, we screwed up.
Yeah.
This is the type of guy that the athletic tools around other event creators is going to be terrifying for teams. Like the Nick Clifford pick earlier was, I thought screamed OKC as well. So that was, I think, a good pick and a good mock projection, everything too. But dude, a Deuce Euro, like Utah needs to build a team defense. This is a great starting point for them. But if he goes somewhere that already has pieces in place, like he's going to be one of the most impactful defensive rookies we've seen in a long time, honestly. So,
yeah, if the shot comes around, his indicators are not good to me. Free throw percentage is not good.
I agree.
Didn't shoot a lot of threes. That's another reason why I didn't put him higher. That's why I have him at like 16. But his profile is ridiculous, and you don't even see it until you go back and look. Because I watched him in real time and didn't realize how productive he was. As far as like those benchmarks with box plus minus and free throw rate and the offensive rebounding, steal percentage, block percentage, he checks all those boxes. So yeah, ridiculous prospect. Definitely going to get undersold and can definitely return like top 10 value in this class probably one of these days. I don't know who is there. I don't know who is it.
Jaden. So you go back to back. Just go back to back. I don't know where Jaden's at.
All right, Hawks. We got them a point guard, and I think their next need is either a athletic wing or a center. So let's look at center. I don't like Danny Wolf.
I don't like that.
I don't like Danny Wolf as a prospect. My bro, no. Alex Condon, not at 22. Let me look at the wings. They're still here. I would literally just select Cedric Coward, but he's not on here.
I'm saying you could just draft someone else.
Draft someone low and
Cedric Coward.
Yeah.
Like just draft someone random and say it's Cedric Coward.
Nah. Yeah. With the 22nd overall pick, the Hawks will draft Miles Bird. This is definitely a reach. It's a reach. Let's call him Cedric Coward if you want to. Whatever. But Miles Bird, I like him because he's a really good defender, really good defensive prospect, can get in passing lanes, is a terror guarding the ball. His issues is he only has 1 year of like great three-point production. And it's not even great. Like it was good at one point, it tailed off. So I don't know if he can shoot that well. His finishing at the rim was abysmal, especially for his size. He needs to put on weight as well. But he also can like run secondary actions in the pick and roll. He's a solid passer. I'll say a good passer. But he's a really good defender. He's really athletic too. So they need more athleticism as a wing, more defense. He can shoot, I think. So that's what I'm doing at 22. I think he's like 25, 27 on my big board or whatever.
I know. Oh, okay.
It's my pick again?
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. It's back to you. Yeah.
I wish it fell right here to the Pacers.
Who?
Darrow.
Oh, yeah. That would have been cool. Because they get out in transition a lot. So that would have been
Darrow would be nuts in Indiana. Yeah.
I heard him. Damn. I thought he was going to fall. It wasn't my pick anyway, but I'd like to see him in Indiana.
I think they need a replacement for Cedric Coward is right here. I'm going to redo that. I didn't see that. Cedric Coward quickly. Drill pass shoot. Wing. That's it. They need that. So Cedric Coward at 22. 23. They need a backup for because I think it's a strong chance Miles Turner walks this offseason. Well, can they pay him? I don't know.
I mean, either way, they're going to need a backup big because Isaiah Jackson.
I don't think he goes either though.
Their front court depth pretty much got injured this year.
I don't hate Danny Wolf.
I'm going to pick him. I don't like him, but I'm going to pick him. With the 23rd overall pick, the Pacers select Danny Wolf. The problem with him is I don't think he's going to be a defender really well on the NBA level. He also is more of a theoretical shooter than actual reality. The free throw percentage is not great.
He was bad from the free throw line, which is the weirdest part. Yeah. Everyone called him a good shooter, but he couldn't make free throws.
He turned the ball over way too much for me for a big, and I understand he's handling the ball.
I think that's like I do disagree. I don't like Danny Wolf, but I think that's a bad point because he was literally even sometimes more than Trey Donaldson, their primary creator. Like he was their point guard for a lot of their he would run the pick and roll with Vlad, and you don't see any other center doing that. He's in a lot more positions to where he's going to turn the ball over. But
I agree with you. That's fair. But for me, defense is a super important part
for sure.
For a center. He's super skilled. Not too many 7-footers can run pick and rolls, inverted pick and rolls. I guess he can shoot. The indicators are not that great. But yeah,
no, I agree.
Like,
it's tough to. It's tough to pick a center. That's my fault.
Go ahead.
It's tough to pick it's tough to pick a center that is not good defensively, that also does not possess, like he can stretch the floor that well. Like it's tough to kind of value that high.
If he stretches the floor well, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's not his shooting indicators are not terrible, but with the Pacers,
I think one thing about stretching the floor that is pretty underrated. Stretching the floor isn't just about shooting. Like I think the fact that Wolf's ability to catch and make plays off the bounce, like if a team does close out onto him, there's stretch value there, even if he shoots 33% from three, or if a team doesn't close out onto him, he can flow into a dribble handoff. And that's something Malawach can't do as quickly or effectively or non-stretch bigs, right?
But they Sabonis back.
Yeah. He said got that Sabonis back.
That's what they get.
Yeah. Basically, right?
He can't run dribble handoffs, and I mean, Indiana is probably good. Indiana is probably a good outcome for any prospect. Just their free flowing offense, way to move the ball, get on transition. You're playing with Tyrese Halliburton; he's going to get you good looks. Andrew Nembhard is going to get you good looks. They move the ball quickly. His passing would be valuable in this offense, obviously. As something like even Miles Turner isn't like that great at, where he can have the advantage of doing that. So I'm not that high on the prospect. Well, mostly because I see people have him like 15, 12. I'm not getting that high. If he's a late first round pick, that's cool, especially the Pacers. That's fine.
Max, you want to switch and you take the for this round? You take
you want Orlando? You want Orlando? Yeah, it's fine.
I don't want Orlando, but I'll give you the Thunder since it's a pick away.
It's tough. It's tough. Again, this is one that I think honestly we could trade. I don't hate trading this pick at all. I've seen this guy mocked to us a couple times. I kind of like. I got two names. I kind of want to go Liam McNeely, but like I'm also scared of what Liam McNeely is, because if you go with Nick Clifford, who kind of provides both, McNeely was super streaky, but at times could show that he was, and again, it's in college, he was the number one guy, and he was shooting the basketball well, and he was doing whatever. I like Will Riley, though, a little bit too, and I got to see a lot of Will Riley. He's such a raw prospect, though. He's super lengthy. I think he possesses the ability to defend, to like, he's just so lengthy. I think he could be like this freak wing for us, but I don't know. I kind of like the size.
Let me speak, because
Liam McNeely's bigger.
I've been super harsh on Liam McNeely. I'm not gonna lie, because his profile is not that great. But
he's built thicker than Will Riley, and he can shoot the basketball. And again, that's all we're gonna need at this kind of pick.
His defense, Liam McNeely's defense is gonna be really bad. I think.
I don't. We have so many switchable defenders. I don't care about that.
Of course. Huh? I don't have Liam in my top 30 right now, but when I really think about it, like he was miscasted at UConn.
For sure, he was the primary.
There's no way he should have been doing that. I think he shot 33% from three this year. I think he's better than that. The volume was,
I think it was 31.
The volume is super high, which I'm encouraging. I think the free throw percentage was good. It's super encouraging. He's not terrible, like putting the ball on the floor at all. He can't rebound. So I'm probably being too harsh with his evaluation. But I think you guys need volume shooting, and he can provide that. He's going to be a really good shooter in the NBA.
The only issue, and again, I like Will Riley, super raw. I think that Liam McNeely being built bigger kind of is against everything else we have. But I also think, like, if he could literally just be setting up screens for Liam, if he could be active, if he could be cutting, like, moving out the ball, like not Klay Thompson, but Klay Thompson, right? Like moving around screens and literally just being that guy to where it's like spot up threes the entire time. If that's the only part of his game, that's going to be super efficient for us and effective. So I kind of talked myself into it, but with the 24th overall pick, OKC will go with Liam McNeely.
Yeah. I'm being too harsh in his evaluation because you got to get, he was miscasted, and that guard play awesome.
What do you guys think, Sheldon Q?
I like McNeely here for OKC. I thought in Game 7 against Denver, specifically when Denver, obviously they won the game and blew them out at the end, and OKC doesn't really need a lot, let's be completely honest. But if you go back to the first quarter when they were struggling to start the game and Denver was mucking up their offense in the half court a bit with a zone where they weren't really closing out very hard on the shooters, especially above the break, like someone like McNeely, who around Cooper Flagg and Derek Queen and Asa Newell at Montverde a year ago was killing teams in zones, killing teams who weren't closing out hard by stretching the floor, standing above the break, and shooting NBA range threes for Montverde Academy. And I think if you're putting him into an offense where you already have all of your creation around him and he is looked at as a fifth option on the court, his value is spacing the floor and shooting. And that's what he'll do. And I think you nailed that, Max, with your evaluation on that. So
I think you're asking so little of him right now. Like, you don't need him to be a playmaker. You don't need him to be a defender. Like, we have so many switchable guys that it's like you literally need him to hit 2 or 3 threes and he can go get a break, and that's it.
Q, you back at
this Orlando
at 25. Need a point guard. Somebody can pressure defense, play make.
I
LeBaron,
I'm gonna go Phylon here. You need me to say 25th pick or
no, you good. We not.
I used to hate to play defense. I'm not super high on him as a scorer, but at least he could defend in the backcourt. Fish Orlando. I wish he would have. I want him to really actually fall at Boston. But I think Orlando doesn't really. You would think they would draft for like what they would need, which would be, at least shooting in the perimeter, but they're just not going to do that. Probably going to try and go out and get that in the trade, but I think this is a good prospect at this juncture. Does everything else well, other than like get to the line, I guess. Shoot.
LeBaron. I mean, I might have taken Nolan Trail right here because he can get to the paint better than Phylon. Phylon is just a really smart player. He has a lot of ancillary skills that are really good. He defends at the point of attack. He's not the greatest defender, but he defends. I think his steal percentage is pretty good. He gets to the rim. He's really good. He's good at making decisions in the pick and roll as well. The shooting definitely needs to come along. Not gonna be a high volume scorer, but thankfully they don't need that. I do wish the shooting was better though. Like if they can get an actual guard that can shoot, like Jace, something like that, that'd be better for them. But good pick, I think. 26. I don't know who.
At pick 26, I'm going to mock someone here who is not going to go in the first round. I would bet money that he doesn't go in the first round, but he should. He'll return first round value, maybe even top 20 value in this draft. So with the 26th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets select Kobe Brea out of Kentucky, and a former Dayton Flyer. This is, earlier Latif said that Trey Johnson, Con Knipp were the two best shooters in the draft. I disagree. And I love both of those prospects, by the way, and it's not to discredit Latif at all. Those guys, I think, have greater skills around their shooting. Kobe Brea is flat out the best shooter in this draft. A year ago for Dayton, playing off of Deron Holmes and handoffs, former first-round pick last year for Denver before, unfortunately, hurting his Achilles. Brea shot 48% from three last year on incredible volume. And then he transferred to Kentucky, held a very high-volume role as an off-ball movement shooter, coming off of handoffs, coming off of pins, flares, whatever you wanted to do, Kobe Brea can do it, and he can do it better than anyone in this draft. He is remarkable. He is a guy who he'll get drafted in the 40s in real life. He'll get drafted way later than he should, and people are going to be like, oh, why did this guy get drafted so late? He can shoot the piss out of the basketball. Everyone knows that shooting is valuable in the NBA. This guy has really respectable positional size. At the combine, measured him with a negative wingspan. To me, I really don't care. You look at some of the best shooters in the league. A lot of them have either identical wingspans or somewhat negative wingspans even. Kobe Brea, you know what you're getting. Movement shooter, spot-up guy. He's going to make open shots, and he's going to make some contested ones as well. It's a great pick here, in my opinion, for whoever gets him on draft night. So,
can he hold up defensively in NBA?
I think so. I think for a comp, Sam Hauser. I think if you go back to last year's NBA Finals, Dallas kept trying to bring Hauser up to the level of the screen, go at him. like obviously the more good defenders you have around him, the better, right? Like you want to protect him. I don't think he's going to be like a stopper or a real true plus defender. But in terms of holding up, I mean, if he makes over 40% of his threes, he just has to be not a revolving door on defense. And I don't think he'll be that. I think for Kentucky this year, I thought it was a really good prove it year for him defensively, going from the A10 to a much more competitive conference after transferring out of Dayton. And I think he held up enough to really solidify himself as a valuable pickup in this year's draft. As an obvious shooter, again, very point blank, simple skill set, but one that I think is super valuable in the league. So.
Yeah. So I think Jaden would have been here at 27. I'm going to take with the 27th overall pick. The Nets are going to select Nolan Traore. You take a swing here. You need upside. Don't got a point guard currently. He can get to the paint. He's been playing much better this year. I think he has like a 40% assist percentage over there in where he's playing France. So he was going to be a top 5 pick before this year started, and he played really bad. Definitely needs to improve driving with finishing with his left hand. I don't think his handle is super dynamic. I just think he's really quick. So he uses it to get to the paint. Not a great defender, not a great shooter. The profile, honestly, in totality, is not the best, which is why he's at 27 for us. But they need some. They can take a swing here on the upside, and I think it's fine. If he can improve, he can get to the paint, create for others, and hopefully his shooting comes along. I almost thought about Washington Jr. Honestly, there, but yeah, you want to take him for the Celtics, Q?
What, Clayton?
No, yeah, not Clayton. I'm talking about Traore.
If he fails, like it was either going to be the Celtics or I like them in Phoenix.
Okay. Is this your pick?
Yeah, it's cute.
Now
you
back?
Yeah, Jaden's not back though. So do you want Q? You could take this one, or it's from Jaden. Jaden, when Jaden left, you just started going back to backs. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, you had 2. You was going back to back, so you technically was picking for the Celtics originally. But if you want to,
I say just have Q go and then have Sheldon do our last pick. I'll go Phoenix and then Sheldon go last.
All right, Q, go ahead.
All right, for the Celtics. You said you took Nolan, right?
Yep.
Yes, I'm gonna go Cam Jones. Scorer, you score the basketball. Yeah. Not a great 3-point shooter. And also, him going to the line is a little hit or miss, but everything else I'm pretty fine with him. It's the Celtics, it's a low leverage situation, especially going into next year. He doesn't have a lot of pressure. He's pretty much gonna go out there and get buckets.
At 29, just keep it rolling. I just think value wise, I think what Phoenix should do is blow it up, and I think that by blowing up, you take highest value. So with 29, they're gonna go with Igor Denham. I know people hate him all the time, but obviously he's fallen down almost out of the first round. But I think if they get Bradley Beal out of there, if you get KD out of there, even if Booker gets traded, hopefully you could take the upside of Igor and he pans into something.
I do think with Demon here, just for those watching, this guy's going to get drafted in the lottery on draft night. So June 25th, brace yourself. He's going to be picked higher than he should be. He's going to get labeled as a jumbo point guard, just like guys like Emmanuel Mudiay, Dante Exum, Evan Turner to an extent. Like there's so many draft examples, Killian Hayes, of these big guards getting drafted because they're looked at as positionless playmakers. That's just a code word for saying he's a wing. Like this guy proved that he cannot be a true point guard. Like he's 6'9". There's great height there. He's a wing. And it shows up in his free throw rate. It shows up in his self-creation. Watch the film on him. Try and see him get all the way to the rim through any contact. If you find that clip, send it to me over on Twitter, please, because like it's not like there's just not a lot of value here for me in terms of who he is as a prospect, and that's why he falls here. I think the rest of the cast here agrees with that. Like he fell to 29 in this. I don't think any of us were super stoked to pick him at any point, but some team's going to take him high because he's shooting well in one-on-one workouts. So
if you had to guess, what team in the lottery you think would take the flyer on him?
At worst, Atlanta, 13th.
Yeah, I'm not Denman. Actually, I think I just put him in like he's at 29 in my big board. I'll
Perfect.
probably just take him out. But legitimately, his statistical profile is terrible. And again, now I learned a lesson. I had Denman at 4 or something like that early, like after the first 5 games. Again, I was doing my big boards. Well, I didn't do an official big board, but just like in my tweaks, learned that lesson very quickly. Him playing against competition, he looked like Luka Doncic playing against bad competition. As soon as he got into Big 12 play, even before Big 12 play, he was awful. To be honest,
games right before you started hitting conference play, that's when I was like, okay, I see.
Yeah, he cannot. His handle is very weak. He cannot deal with pressure at all. He can get. He has the ability to get to the rim because he did do that a bit. It was every time it was on the screen. He played in one of the best offensive ecosystems in college basketball. BYU is a very good offensive system, ran by Kevin Young, and a pro style offense with shooters and a good roll man and Richie Sanders, Loki. I mean, if he wanted to come out, I don't know. Richie Sanders was a really good basketball player this year.
Mm-hmm.
Box plus minus was just terrible. Free throw rate terrible. 3-point percentage terrible. He did shoot a lot of threes, so the form looks good. I will say, he did shoot a lot of threes, so the volume is there. But his free throw percentage, it's not even good. It's not great. So it's like it's really weird. And he's also not a good defender. So Jaeger is going to get drafted much higher than I think he should. There's like this like authoritarian complex, elitist complex where I saw someone tweet today, Jaeger Demon is going to get drafted in the top 14. Yeah. If Jaeger Demon is going to get drafted in the top 14, if you don't have him mocked there, you don't know what you're doing. So there's this like NBA scouts, NBA fans love him like they didn't love Cody Williams or Shazane Saloon or like Emmanuel Mudiay, all the other busts that they are, and like there's gonna be busts. So consensus doesn't matter to me. But yeah, whose pick is it at 30?
Sheldon's ending it.
Okay, cool. Who's the last pick? I don't even know.
The Clippers. So with the 30th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Ben Saraf out of Ratio Farm Ulm. Noah Senge's teammate over there in Germany. Senge obviously went much earlier in this mock, and Saraf, I do think will fall a bit because of questions about the reliability of his three-point shot. And I do think when you're drafting for specifically point guard play or ball handler play, it is the most flooded position in the entire league. There's a lot of talented ball handlers who do not get play time. There's a lot of talented ball handlers who fall in drafts because it's hard to project their fit. Whereas you look at a guy like Rasheer Fleming, for example, who went earlier, who has less dribble pass shoot skills than Saraf, has a much easier way of getting onto the court because he's bigger, longer, more athletic, can defend multiple positions. There's more value there for NBA teams, which is why Saraf falling to 30 is a real possibility. But for the Clippers, the one thing that they can offer that a lot of other teams in this range can't is minutes. And the Clippers need another guard, another ball handler, decision maker. Behind James Harden, we know Kawhi Leonard's slated to miss probably 20-plus games at least next year again. And I think a skilled ball handler, scorer, who can put the ball in the deck, make plays for others like he's done all year long for Senge, I think fits really well here with Zubats, with Batum, and the other pieces that they have there in LA. So
Saraf is a talented passer, I think. And he is also, but he, again, like you mentioned, has shooting concerns. I think he has athleticism concerns as well. But I think I can see Sarab as like a backup point guard, returning some really good value in this class. It's productive in a good pro league. So yeah, that holds its own value. Sheldon, thank you for coming on. This is our full first round mock draft. It was a long recording, especially since we just did a video before this. So yeah, I know Max and Q really tired. I got food on the way. Thank you for coming on and showing us some support. Interested to see if we can continue to collab going forward and as this draft season comes to a close. But that's going to do it for our post-combine mock draft. Thank you guys for watching.